Hey, what's up? Thanks for tuning in to the Wildcaster postgame. I'm Alec White alongside Justin Spears from the McHale Center. And Justin, Arizona won tonight, snapped his 3-game winning streak, and we might have a fan to thank for Arizona breaking its winning streak. I'm not kidding. Well, maybe a little bit. But in the second half, Arizona was losing to Washington State. All of a sudden, we get a timeout. A fan goes, it's a regular routine. They do a 3-point shot to win, a gift card to a gym, Choose Fitness.
Choose Fitness, yeah.
And he makes a 3-pointer, and then it's supposed to end it. But he backs up to the 3-point line and swishes the 3-pointer. And all of a sudden, from then on, Arizona went on a 26-0 run over the Cougars and won by a final score 83-62. And Justin, it finally looked like the Wildcats put the pieces together because that first half was really rough.
Yeah, Arizona, they went in the locker room trailing at halftime, and you were sitting there thinking, man, Arizona was favored by 15.5 points, even with Josh Green coming back from his back injury. Arizona favored by 15.5 points. Why are they trailing at halftime? And then, Washington State came out, knocked a couple 3-pointers, and they got out to like a 6 or a 7-point lead in the first couple of minutes. And then all of a sudden, this fan comes out on the court, sinks a half-court shot for a free gym membership, and ever since that moment, Arizona went on a 26-0 run, then a 32-3 run, and then they outscored Washington State by 23 points in the second half. I mean, this was all around a solid half for Arizona. Probably, arguably the best half Arizona's played all year long.
Granted, it was Washington State, but it looked like a lot of things were coming together defensively led to offense. We talked to Sean Miller, and he's like, the defense is really what sparked it, and Nico Mannion and Zeke Naji, who we were able to talk to post-game, agreed. When Arizona gets stops defensively, forces a turnover, gets a steal, and then they can get out in transition, this team's offense really opens up, and you saw that. Nico Mannion, Zeke Naji had really good games. Mannion had 23 points, one shy of his career high.
Yeah.
Zeke Naji, another 20-point game. Josh Green added 12. So Chase Jeter and Max Hazard missed tonight's game. We'll dive into that in a sec.
Yeah.
But with limited depth, Arizona's star players stepped up.
Yeah, and they also, took care of the ball, too, in the second half. They only had 4 turnovers in the second half. When you play a half with just, 3 to 4 turnovers, I mean, good things are going to happen. They turned over the ball against UCLA, and all their losses this season, it all comes down to turning over the ball, poor shooting, or poor rebounding. All of those things were out the window for Arizona tonight. They out-rebounded Wazoo. They didn't have as many turnovers as Wazoo. They forced turnovers. They forced more turnovers than they turned over the ball.
Which always helps to win.
Which always helps. And then they finally were able to score. Nico Mannion, found his rhythm a little bit. And you talked to him after the game and asked him about, what's going on when you go in and put in that extra work, because he said, over the last couple of weeks, I really have just went to the gym, got up extra shots, and that's what he responded to your question. He said, I'm just trying to find my rhythm. He certainly found
something that feels good when you shoot it.
Something that feels good. And, the shot, when it leaves his hands, when he was really struggling, they were good shots, but it's just, for some reason, it just wasn't falling. And I think this was the first time Nico Mannion has ever really struggled in his life. And you know what? He did the mature thing. I mean, we talk about Nico Mannion being a first-round pick. When things aren't going well, what does he do? He wears it, goes in the gym, and gets better. Now, can that carry over into Saturday's game against Washington, and more importantly, Las Vegas, and then the NCAA tournament as well?
Yeah, you bring up a good point, Nico Mannion. He didn't have never had his head down when he's been struggling. He's just always had he's going to keep shooting it mentality, and we're starting to see it fall.
Yeah.
Sean Miller said that it just takes time for him to get comfortable, and there's so much expectation surrounding him. So definitely good to see him have 2 good games in a row, which is something we haven't been able to say really all season.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, Max Hazard and Chase Jeter, as I mentioned, missed tonight's game. Chase Jeter, he's been suspended for tonight's game and Saturday's game against Washington due to a violation of team rules. We aren't sure what those are. Sean Miller was pretty vague about that, and Max Hazard also sat out for personal reasons, not team rules, but something going on behind the scenes with him that Sean Miller also didn't elaborate on. It's up in the air whether or not he'll play Saturday. Chase Jeter won't play Saturday. Just your thoughts on how Arizona handles this.
So, Miller said that we didn't really say it, but it was clarified afterwards by a rep here at the U of A that Chase Jeter will participate in senior day activities, which is going to be very bizarre. Like, you get suspended and almost embarrassed. You know, this is your last game at McHale Center, your last week playing at McHale Center, and you get suspended. It's not a good look for Chase Jeter. It's not a good look for the program. But he's still going to participate in senior day activities. And for Max Hazard, you know, this is the second time in 3 games he's out for personal reasons. But he didn't miss the UCLA game. So what happened between the USC-UCLA game that allowed him to play, and what happened between the UCLA game and tonight's game against Washington State
where he's not
playing? I mean, this is such a bizarre scenario, and we may not ever get the answers. But, you know, weird careers for both of them at Arizona. Max Hazard, in his lone season, we all thought, you know, he'd be the UC Irvine Hazard that we saw a year ago in the NCAA tournament. That hasn't come to fruition. And meanwhile, Chase Jeter, you know, last year's co-captain, you know, one of the leaders on this team, and then all of a sudden it's just this falling out with him. Now, he could come alive in Pac-12 tournament and NCAA tournament, but yeah, not a good look.
Some updates elsewhere in the Pac-12. Washington, who Arizona plays on Saturday, went up to Tempe and beat the Sun Devils. So now we have a logjam for the 3 through 6 seeds. UCLA and Oregon are entrenched right up at the top. They're going to be either co-owners of the Pac-12 title, or one might lose this weekend and the other wins. We'll see, but it's going to be a battle for the 3 through 6 between ASU, Colorado, Arizona, and USC.
Yeah.
Stanford lost to Oregon State today, so they're officially going to be a 6 or 7 seed. Justin, I mean, it's
weird, man.
It's really a coin flip toss-up. There's going to be all these tiebreaker rules, but if you had to, would you feel confident saying Arizona is going to wind up with the first round bye?
I do. I think they're going to get it done on Saturday against Washington, but crazy things happened. You know, Washington went up and beat ASU, so you just never know. I've said this several times. They are the most talented last-place team in college basketball right now, across the country. I mean, they have first-round talent across the board. Mike Hopkins, I think, is a solid coach, but they just haven't really been able to put it together. But Arizona gets it done on Saturday. I mean, a lot of things have to happen in order for them not to get that top 4 spot, because luckily for them, they played against Colorado only one time this year and beat them. So they own this tiebreaker over Colorado, and that's really what helps out Arizona. So I think, you know, you win, Arizona's going to get either a 4 or a 3 seed, and they're going to get that first round bye.
Certainly helps if you're trying to make a run in March, and it is March, and
we're
going to be talking basketball all month long. So if you want to get the latest, all the Arizona Wildcats news, men's and women's hoops, be sure to subscribe to the Wildcaster podcast. We'll have weekly podcasts. Go to Tucson.com. We'll have all written content, video content. Subscribe to the Arizona Daily Star. Download the free Wildcaster app. So many ways you can get coverage this time of year, because last thing you want in March is to not know what's going on, so we've got you covered.
On that app, by the way, you don't need a subscription to the Arizona Daily Star. Like, you don't need to pay money. It's free. Download it, and it's going to be useful in March.
All right. I'm Alec White alongside Justin Spears. Thanks for tuning in. Wildcats win 83-62. We'll see you Saturday for the last game of McHale.